What happens when two of music's most iconic stars collide live on national television over a long-buried controversy that was never meant to resurface? You're about to witness it, because what unfolded on the Kelly Clarkson show left both the audience and crew utterly speechless. Don't forget to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments. This story twists in ways you won't see coming. Kelly Clarkson leaned back in her chair, that signature warm smile spreading across her face as she faced her guest. The studio buzzed with anticipation. Cameras were already rolling, capturing what everyone assumed would be a light-hearted, nostalgic interview filled with laughter and fond memories. "Shania, I have to tell you, having you here is honestly like a dream come true," Kelly began, her voice brimming with the genuine enthusiasm fans adored. "Your music shaped so much of my childhood, and I know it did the same for millions around the world." Shania nodded politely, though her posture carried a subtle hint of caution. "That's very kind of you, Kelly. I've always admired your voice, and your success on American Idol paved the way for so many artists." "Oh, thank you so much," Kelly replied, clasping her hands together. "You know, I was thinking before you came on, we've never really had a proper conversation about how the music industry has evolved since our careers began. You dominated the 90s, and I came along in the early 2000s. A flicker of emotion passed over Shania's face, quickly masked by composure. "Yes, the industry has definitely changed a lot since then." Kelly leaned forward, her interviewer instincts kicking in. "I remember when I was just starting out, there were always rumors about established artists and how they felt about newcomers. Some of it was probably tabloid nonsense, but you know how it is in this business." Shania's tone grew cooler. "I'm not sure I follow what you mean." The audience quieted, sensing a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Kelly didn't retreat. "I just mean there were always stories about artists feeling threatened by new talent or changes in the industry. I'm sure you heard similar things." Shania's jaw tightened imperceptibly. "Kelly, maybe we should focus on the music rather than gossip from 20 years ago." Of course, Kelly said quickly, though her expression hinted she wasn't ready to drop it. "It's just interesting how perceptions can differ from reality. I read an article once, won't say who, but it claimed reality. TV winners wouldn't have real staying power in country music." The studio fell silent. Cameras froze. Everyone knew they were witnessing something unusual. Shania's eyes narrowed. "Are you referring to something specific, or are these general comments about old tabloid stories?" Kelly's smile faltered. "Briefly, just noting how wrong some of those predictions turned out to be. Here we are, both still making music, connecting with audiences." "Yes, here we are," Shania replied, her voice edged with tension. The energy in the room thickened, charged with a palpable unease. Kelly's easygoing style seemed to hit a wall, yet she pressed on. "I'm curious, did you ever feel the industry tried to pit women against each other, especially during times when new artists were emerging and established ones were trying to maintain relevance?" The question lingered like a dare. Shania leaned back, studying Kelly intently. "Maintain their relevance," she repeated slowly, tasting each word. Kelly realized she had crossed a line, but didn't back down. "I don't mean it negatively," Kelly said. "It's just fascinating how success is measured, how artists navigate changes in the landscape." Shania's voice sharpened. "And you thought I was concerned about maintaining relevance when you won American Idol?" "It wasn't a question," Shania said, the audience now fully silent. Producers likely scrambled, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let it unfold. "I never said that," Kelly replied defensively, aware of the territory she'd entered. "No, you didn't say it directly," Shania countered, "but you've been circling something since the start, and we both know what that is." Kelly took a deep breath, momentarily seeming to consider diffusing the tension. Instead, she chose to confront it. "Look, Shania, we're adults here. Some comments were made back then that maybe weren't supportive of new artists entering country music through unconventional paths." Shania's expression hardened. "Comments I supposedly made. I'm not accusing," Kelly said quickly, "just acknowledging there were reports, and maybe this is a chance to clear the air." The studio seemed to hold its collective breath. A friendly interview was transforming into a high-stakes confrontation. Neither host nor guest expected, but neither was willing to retreat. Shania leaned forward, eyes locked on Kelly's. "Kelly, if you have something to say, say it. Stop hiding behind vague references and old tabloid stories." Kelly's smile vanished, replaced by a determined intensity her viewers rarely saw. "Fine. There was an interview with Country Weekly where you said artists from reality shows were taking shortcuts, while real country artists paid their dues the hard way. You claimed winners from singing competitions would never understand the struggles of authentic country music. Country musicians went through. The audience gasped audibly, some leaning forward in the front rows, phones already recording every second of what was quickly becoming television gold. Shania didn't flinch, "And you think that was about you?" "I think the timing was pretty convenient," Kelly shot back, her voice rising slightly. "This was right after I won American Idol," Kelly continued, eyes flashing with intensity. Right when I was trying to make the transition into country music. And suddenly, there's Shania Twain telling the world that people like me don't deserve to be taken seriously. People like you, Shania repeated, incredulous. Kelly, you won the biggest singing competition in America. Instant fame, instant recognition, a record deal practically handed to you on a silver platter. How exactly is that the same struggle that artists who spent years performing in honky-tanks and writing songs in Nashville endured? Kelly's cheeks flushed crimson. So you're saying I didn't earn my success? That because I won a competition, everything after was just handed to me? I'm saying your path was different, Shania replied coldly. And at the time, I thought it was important to acknowledge that difference. Country music has always been about authenticity, real stories from people who've lived real struggles. Kelly's voice trembled with anger. And you think my struggles weren't real? Growing up poor in Texas, working multiple jobs to support my family, dealing with an absent father, none of that counts as real enough for your standards of authentic country music. Shania paused briefly, as if softening, but then doubled down. Your struggles were real, Kelly, but your path to success in the music industry was manufactured. There's a difference. The studio fell utterly silent. What had begun as an interview was now a raw confrontation between two of music's biggest names, happening live before an enraptured audience. Kelly stood abruptly, sending a ripple of shock through the crowd. Manufactured, that's what you really think of my career, isn't it? That every song, every performance, every accomplishment was just manufactured because I won a singing competition at 20. Shania remained seated, rigid. The industry changed, not always for the better. Reality television created shortcuts that bypassed the traditional path of developing as an artist. That's not a personal attack, it's an observation. Oh, it's absolutely personal. Kelly shot back, her voice echoing through the studio. You can't hide behind industry observations when you explicitly called out reality show winners in that interview. You weren't talking about the industry in general. You were talking about me. If the shoe fits, Shania said quietly, her words carrying clearly across the studio. The audience gasped again. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Producers in the background looked panicked, debating whether to cut to commercial or let history unfold. Kelly's hands trembled, anger, adrenaline, or a mix of both. It was impossible to tell. Are you kidding me right now, Shania? I've been nothing but respectful to you and your legacy since I started. I've praised your music, acknowledged your influence, and never said a negative word about you in public. And I appreciate that. Shania's tone was flat, almost cold. Because right now, it feels like you've been waiting 20 years to tell me what you really think of my career and my place in country music. Is that it? Sitting on this resentment all this time, just waiting for the right moment to call me a fraud? Shania finally stood, meeting Kelly eye-to-eye across the small interview space. I don't think you're a fraud, Kelly. You're talented, but talent and authenticity aren't the same thing, and the industry lost something important when it started prioritizing television personalities over genuine country artists. Television personalities. Kelly's voice shook with barely contained fury. Is that what you think I am? A television personality who stumbled into a music career? I think you're a pop star who tried to rebrand herself as country when it was convenient, Shania said, her words slicing through the air like a knife. The studio fell into complete silence. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Kelly stared at Shania, her expression cycling through shock, hurt, and finally cold, simmering anger. After everything I've accomplished in my career, after all the respect I've shown you and your legacy, you're going to sit here on my own show and tell me I'm not a real country artist? Kelly's voice dropped to a whisper, yet it carried more weight than any shout could. Shania remained impassive. I'm telling you what I told Country Weekly 20 years ago. The industry changed. Not everyone was happy about it. Congratulations, Shania, Kelly said, stepping back from her chair. You finally said what you really think. I hope it was worth it. The tension was suffocating. The audience didn't dare breathe, eyes fixed on the confrontation unfolding before them. This was television history in the making. Kelly took another step back, never breaking eye contact. You know what's really sad? I invited you on this show because I genuinely respected you. I thought we could talk about music, being women in this industry, how we've navigated our careers in. That's exactly what's happening, Shania replied, a subtle crack in her previously unwavering composure. Sometimes honest conversations aren't comfortable, Shania added calmly. Gottlieb let out a bitter laugh that echoed through the silent studio. Honest, let me be honest with you, Shania. That interview you did with Country Weekly, taking shots at reality show winners, do you know what that did to me? Do you know what it felt like to have someone I admired tell the world I didn't belong in country music? Shania's jaw tightened. Silent for a beat, Kelly pressed on, her voice gaining strength with every word. I was 20 years old, just won this incredible opportunity, trying to figure out who I was as an artist, and then I wake up one morning to find that one of my idols thinks I took a shortcut and doesn't deserve to be taken seriously. The industry is tough, Shania said quietly. Everyone faces criticism. Everyone faces criticism, Kelly repeated, incredulous. That's your response. This wasn't just criticism, it was a calculated effort to undermine my credibility before I even had a chance to prove myself. I was expressing my opinion about changes in the industry, Shania insisted, though her voice lacked the conviction of moments before. Your opinion about me, Kelly shot back. Stop hiding behind industry commentary. You were talking about me, specifically, and you know it. And let me tell you, the irony, you lecture me on authenticity and paying dues. Yet when you married your producer and he helped craft your sound and image, was that paying your dues the hard way? The audience collectively inhaled. Kelly had crossed an unspoken line, dragging Shania's personal life into the confrontation. Shania's face went pale. How dare you, she hissed. How dare I what? Point out that your success wasn't exactly the traditional Nashville route either. You married the man who produced your biggest hits. Your career transformation happened because of that relationship. Please, tell me more about manufactured success and shortcuts. My personal life has nothing to do with this conversation, Shania said, voice dangerously low. Kelly pressed on, unstoppable now. You're lecturing me on authenticity when your biggest albums were created with the man you were sleeping with. At least I won my opportunity in front of millions. I didn't win it in someone's bedroom. The studio went completely silent. Audience members covered their mouths. Cameras froze. Everyone realized they were witnessing a moment that could end careers or shatter relationships. Shania's hands trembled, rage, humiliation, or both. Impossible to tell. You have no idea what you're talking about, she spat. Don't I? Kelly's voice was icy, calculated. Mutunga turned you from a struggling country singer into an international superstar. He wrote your songs, produced your albums, created your image. And when he left you for your best friend, your career stalled, but sure. Let's talk about authentic country music and paying dues. Shania stepped closer, face flushed with anger. You know nothing about my marriage. Nothing about my creative process. Nothing about what I went through. I know that you built your career on a relationship, just like you accused me of building mine on a television show. Kelly replied without hesitation. The only difference. My shortcut was public. Yours was private. This interview is over, Shania said, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Kelly crossed her arms. Because, last I checked, this is my show, and you're still my guest. Not anymore, Shania replied, turning toward the stage side where her assistant frantically signaled the production crew. Oh, so now you're just going to walk away, Kelly called after her, just like you always do when someone challenges your narrative. Shania stopped in her tracks and turned back, eyes narrowing. What did you just say? She demanded. You heard me, Kelly said, her voice cutting clearly across the studio. This is exactly what you did 20 years ago. Instead of supporting new artists, instead of lifting up other women in country music, you tore them down to protect your own position. And now that someone is finally calling you out, you're running away. I am not running away from anything, Shania replied, stepping toward the interview area, her posture deliberate. I am choosing not to continue a conversation with someone who thinks it's appropriate to attack my personal life on national television, just like you attacked mine in Country Weekly. Kelly shot back, like you've been attacking it for 20 years with your comments about reality show winners and manufactured careers. You started this, Shania. I'm just finishing it. Shania stared at Kelly for a long moment, her chest rising and falling with controlled breaths. The studio held its collective breath, waiting. You want to know what I really think? Shania finally said, voice low but carrying through the microphones. I think you've spent your entire career trying to prove you belong in country music. And you're still insecure about how you got there. That's why this conversation bothers you. That's why you can't let it go. Kelly's face paled, but she didn't retreat. And I think you've spent your entire career trying to convince people your success was legitimate when deep down, you know that without Muttlanger you'd still be playing small venues in Canada. The words hung between them like a loaded weapon. Silence stretched over the studio, thick and suffocating. Both women remained frozen, the audience motionless, afraid to break the spell of this unprecedented confrontation. Shania moved first, a slow, deliberate step back. Eyes never leaving Kelly. You know what, Kelly? I came here thinking we could have a mature conversation about our careers, about music, about the industry we both love. Instead, you ambushed me with 20-year-old grievances and then attacked my personal life when I defended myself. Kelly's arms remained crossed, stance defiant despite the emotional toll. I didn't ambush you. I tried to address something that's been hanging between us for 2 decades, and you turned it into a personal attack on my legitimacy as an artist. Your legitimacy as an artist was never in question, Shania said, her voice heavy. With weariness, your path to becoming an artist, that's what I questioned. There's a difference. Not sure you can see it. Oh, I see it perfectly. Kelly fired back, voice rising. I understand you felt threatened by the changing music industry. Instead of adapting or supporting new artists, you tore them down publicly to feel better about your insecurities. Shania shook her head slowly. You think this was about feeling threatened? Kelly, I had already achieved everything I wanted in country music by the time you won American Idol. I wasn't worried about competition. Then why? Kelly demanded, stepping forward. Why make those comments? Why delegitimize reality? Show winners if not out of fear of the attention we were getting. Shania paused, shoulders straightening, chin lifted. Because I believed then and still believe that there's value in the traditional path. Artists who spent years honing their craft, playing small venues, writing songs nobody heard, struggling to make ends meet while chasing their dreams. And you don't think I struggled? Kelly's voice cracked slightly. Growing up, poor, working multiple jobs, facing rejection after rejection before American Idol, that doesn't count. I think your struggles were real, Shania said carefully. But winning a television show gave you opportunities others spend decades chasing. That's not your fault, but it's not the same as the traditional Nashville journey. Kelly studied her for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter but sharper. You're right, different doesn't mean less valid. It doesn't mean less authentic. The fact that you can't see that, Evan, after everything I've accomplished says more about you than me. Shania's expression hardened. And inviting me on your show just to relitigate a 20-year-old interview. That says a lot about you too. I invited you to clear the air. Kelly said, maybe we could put this behind us. Maybe find common ground. Instead, I learned you still think I don't deserve to be taken seriously. And apparently, that my career is built on sleeping with the right people. I never said that. Shania protested. You didn't have to. Kelly shot back. Just like you didn't have to mention me by name in that interview. We both know what you meant. Shania looked around the studio, taking in the shocked faces of the audience, the frantic crew, the cameras capturing every moment of this career-defining showdown. This was a mistake, she said finally, reaching for her purse. I should never have agreed to this interview. Running away again, Kelly called, as Shania moved toward the edge of the stage. Shania paused, turning back one last time. I'm not running away. I'm choosing to end this conversation before we say things we'll regret even more than what's already been said. I don't regret anything I've said today. Kelly replied firmly. For the first time in 20 years, we've been completely honest. That's worth something, isn't it? Shania shook her head. Good luck with that. Kelly, I hope it works out better than today. With that, Shania Twain turned and walked off the stage, leaving Kelly standing alone. Before a stunned audience, the cameras rolled as Kelly's expression cycled through anger, hurt, and finally, something like relief. After Shania disappeared, Kelly faced the cameras and audience, took a deep breath, and managed a tired, determined smile. Well, she said, voice steady, that certainly wasn't what I planned for today's show. The audience remained silent, still processing what they'd witnessed. Kelly walked back to her chair, looking into the camera. Thank you for watching and for supporting both Shania and me as artists. Even after this, sometimes the most important conversations are the hardest. The truth isn't always comfortable, but honesty, even when painful, is better than pretending there's no problem. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what you think. Do you believe Shania and I can ever find common ground after this? The credits began to roll as Kelly sat, head held high, the weight of the confrontation still visible but her composure unbroken as the cameras finally cut.